Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. There has been a lot of hype surrounding the Wood Elf rework, and understandably so. A race that was in dire need of an update has finally got it. This rework will be made available to the general public on December 3rd. The Wood Elf campaign has changed quite a lot, and there are a few changes that you might need to know before you jump into your new campaign, so in this video I want to discuss precisely that. So without wasting any more time, let's just jump right in. First, we'll talk about your campaign in general. Amber, of course, is no longer a necessity. However, now you have a new resource that you'll need to focus on, that of Forest Health. Not only is Forest Health dependent on what type of bonuses you'll receive for each magical forest, but for your main hub, that of Athaloran and the Oak of Ages, you will need to build up a lot of Forest Health to be able to finally end the campaign. If you want to go by victory conditions, of course. You gain Forest Health in a number of ways. There are a bunch of events that will trigger every few turns, usually in relevance to armies that are trying to pass by Athaloran. You can choose to let them go or kill them, but you'll also be able to get some Forest Health from that. Nothing too big, usually around 10. Of course, the main way of getting Forest Health is that of controlling the Hearthlands. Those are the territories completely adjacent to your magical forests. So as you can see around Athaloran, there are a decent number of territories. However, it is important to note the following. When these territories are under your control, under control by one of your allies, either through a defensive or military alliance, or completely destroyed, being razed, is when you'll gain more Forest Health. If the territories are controlled by a neutral faction to you, even if you have a non-aggression pact, they will not gain you any Forest Health. And finally, should the territories be under control of a faction that you're at war against, then each of those territories will provide negative Forest Health. Growth for Forest Health is quite slow, so if you intend to finish your campaign as quickly as possible, you'll need to have a combination of doing the events and also working for your Hearthlands. Events will pop up throughout your campaign at a regular interval. Some of these will focus around neutral armies, while others are more focused around armies which are building up to invade you, and will arrive within a short few turns. We covered this in our Wood Elf rework, but it's important to note because these events are quite frequent, and will pop up every few turns. It's not so much of an issue when you're dealing with the forces that are just trying to walk by. However, when you take into account the invasion forces, then things can be a tad more difficult, especially if you've left Athaloran undefended, if you've decided to send your forces on an expedition through the deep roots and now are caught with the cooldown and can't return to defend your locations. Of course, if you focus on building up your garrisons, this might not be too much of an issue, but as we are aware, building up multiple armies as the Wood Elves early on isn't really too possible, even on easier difficulties. The current playthrough I'm doing for this video is on easy mode and easy battles, and even then I am struggling to field a second army early on. Of course, this can be attributed to the fact that the Wood Elves themselves are not an expansionist race, and you won't be getting a very powerful economy. With that, we can talk about expansion of your territories. Once again, the outpost feature stays more or less relatively unchanged, barring obviously the settlements which are close to your magical forests. There is really no need to expand too far. You're not really going to empire build with the Wood Elves. Instead, you're going to be very isolationist. It's a rather weird way to play the campaign, but indeed different from other races. You're more than capable of expanding, but bear in mind that the territories not linked to your magical forests will not have any great benefits towards your playstyle. They'll also have rather weak garrisons, and finally the ports, which used to be quite decent for the Wood Elves after you unlocked a certain technology. Those have now been nerfed, and will not provide nearly as much income as they used to, so do bear that in mind. Now, this is a rather important note. Alliances. Be wary on who you initiate them with. The AI in general for Total War Warhammer 2 is still very volatile, and the last thing you want is to ally with one of the other Wood Elf factions in Athaloran, only to see them declare war on one of the Bretonnian factions, which you may have also allied with in an effort to secure some Hearthland. The same could be said vice versa. I've been playing through this campaign a few times now, and the occurrences can be quite random. If you're trying to focus around being an isolationist and traveling through the deep roots, the last thing you need is to be backstabbed, especially with a reliability hit. Keep that in mind before starting to make certain alliances with different factions. This is only something I've noticed fairly recently, but it seems that the Beastmen seem to be a bit more active in their efforts against you. You will notice far more Beastmen incursions than you're normally used to, which honestly is a nice surprise. Now you'll have a constant threat attacking you, which obviously means you need to focus up building up your garrisons, and if you have a second army, it probably would be best to leave it in Athaloran. Don't leave your territories undefended and risk getting attacked by a Beastman Doomstack or multiple forces. In regards to Confederation with the other Wood Elf factions, don't bother too much about increasing your diplomatic relations with them. There's absolutely no need. Once you've acquired your non-aggression pact and your trade agreement, that's pretty much all you need. Afterwards, to unlock Confederation, while you can do it the old-fashioned way, the best way to do it is by leveling up your Oak of Ages. Specific factions are tied to different levels of the Oak of Ages, but once you hit those levels, you'll then unlock missions to be able to confederate with them. These missions are generally quite easy, defeating a few factions a number of times, or even just a simple fight. It's nothing too difficult, and you should be able to get that done within a few turns. And finally, I leave you all with a tip. So, you can confederate with the other Wood Elf factions relatively easily. And obviously, it's not the best thing to do early game. If you can't support more than one army, you'd best wait before starting to confederate. But since the confederations themselves are indeed quite easy to pull off, you might as well wait until the respective Wood Elf factions build up their settlements so it can sustain a possible new army. So for example, on screen right now, I've confederated with the faction that controls Lorelon Forest. I'd waited a decent amount of turns and saw that they had developed their territory quite nicely. At that point, all I had to do was fight a minor Norscan faction, and I managed to confederate instantly after. This is something that you can take into account with not only these ones, but every Wood Elf faction established in game as from this patch. I think these are enough hints and tips which will help players out when they start a Wood Elf campaign after this new patch cycle has dropped. I hope I've covered everything, but let me know if you feel like I've missed anything. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.